Hello and welcome to Resi's live unveiling of Resi Media Sites as part of our new Resi On Demand. My name is Christian and I'm a member of the Resi marketing team, and I've been involved in professional video production for the past 10 years or so, including church live streaming. And I'm joined here in the Resi studio with Jason Morris, who is a product manager here at Resi and is one of the OG church live streamers back before Resi or almost any church live
Back before live streaming was a smart thing to do.
Yeah, right. You literally saw it from the inception.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to bring this event to all of you, our amazing Resi customers, as well as some hopefully new Resi customers.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, Resi has focused on developing a rock-solid product for the production staff, right? Resilient streaming, volunteer-friendly user interface, top-tier support, and the list goes on. But Resi Media Sites is something different. Resi Media Sites is an outward-facing user interface that your congregation can use with ease to watch all of your church's content, both streamed and pre-recorded. And it's all possible because of Resi On Demand, which was previously known as Content Library, although it's not just a name.
It's more than that. It's more than just a name change.
Correct, which we'll get into. So for the next hour, we are going to be showing you under the hood of Resi Media Sites and Resi On Demand. And make sure you stay till the end, because we will be giving some links so you can try it out for yourself. So, and also there is a live chat here, so if you have questions throughout the webinar, feel free to put them in the chat. We will be answering them towards the end, and there's a lot to cover, so
Right.
there is. Ask away.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. One way or the other, we'll get to it.
Right. But let's hop into this. Jason, what was the motivation behind creating Resi Media Sites?
Wow. Okay, so I'd probably have to say that the motivation behind Resi On Demand Media Sites was something that would happen, on the regular, where a particular service went really, really well. And the first thing that would happen was the pastor would get off stage, come to the back, tech room and say, when is this going to be available, on the webpage, And I had to be realistic, and kind of under-promise and over-deliver, and I knew all the things that I had to do after the event was done, and all of the things. I mean, you guys that are, tech people, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you have to download the video, you've got to trim it, you've got to re-render it so that it's in the optimal settings for every one of your endpoints, wherever you're going to end up throwing it. And then you got to upload it. You got to wait for it to transcode and render and hope that it doesn't copyright flag. And then you've got all of these other things. It's like, did it somehow not work? Like this would happen too. It's like, I would upload it. Everything would be perfect. It wouldn't copyright flag, but it wouldn't work either. So I'd have to re-upload it with the same settings or just trim it a little so that it would take, just all these things that no one thinks about. And so when my boss comes back to the tech room and says, hey, when is this going to be available on the webpage? It was an amazing service. This is the one I want on the webpage. When is it going to be ready? And I'd have to tell him, Tuesday. And he'd give me this look, like, he's like, what? When I upload something to YouTube, it's like available in 15 minutes or less.
But they don't understand the scale of the production.
No, they don't get it. Yeah. They don't get it. Yeah. And what that like killed me on one sense. Like from a career standpoint, I just hated that type of conversation because, if I wanted to like miss Sunday dinner, grind it out, I could maybe, if everything went perfect, get it done, Sunday evening. But then I don't see my family.
Just give up your life to make sure all of that happens.
Yeah. And so
it's fine.
But that pales in comparison to what would happen to me in the lobby, which is a very similar sort of thing, where the people of the congregation, my church family, they would be so pumped about whatever testimony or whatever special music or whatever happened. It was magic, and Jesus showed up, and it was amazing. They would come out and ask me the exact same question, and they would say, "When's this going to be ready?" And I would have to tell them Tuesday.
Oh,
Right.
Just the excitement.
Yes, because
yeah.
they would say things like, I want to share this with my friends. And I'd be like, by Tuesday, you're not going to remember to do that.
Oh, you've moved on. Your week is in full swing at that point.
Right. And so for me, it was like, all right, we've got to fix this problem because we are missing opportunities for microevangelism to occur from our people. We're not just talking about, making my boss happy. We're talking about empowering the church to be the church, to get the message out. And I feel like what Resi does so well on the front end with all of its automations and everything and the scheduling, and it just works, we can add that same level of rigor and thought around what happens after the event so that these automations just happen. Yep. And with Resi On Demand media sites, you can now say, when is this going to be ready? And you can say, it's already there.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of Resi media sites, right? Like exactly what you just said. We've put so much time into the pre-show,
right?
And then of course the production is on point as always. But then what happens after? And it's that long. There's no automation after.
Right. Exactly.
That's what Resi media site solves because it's literally available right for your congregation right away. Like as soon as that stream ends.
Yeah, and it's even more than just the site. It's like what I love about Resi On Demand. The media sites is just one portion of Resi On Demand. Resi On Demand is the feed engine that empowers the Resi media site, but also mobile apps, OTT. There's a lot of feed things coming that I am so excited about because then you can truly have this automation where it's like, the person comes out of the live and says, hey, when is this going to be available on the webpage? Not only is it available on the webpage, but it's on your church app right now. It just rendered it's right there. Right? Share it right now with your friend.
And that's because of the Resi On Demand engine.
Yes.
So, and we'll use the analogy, engine under the hood. Let's take a look under the hood and see this in live action, a live demo from Jason Morris.
Yes. So let's say, okay, first off, we've named it this way on purpose. Resi On Demand media sites. It couldn't be easier if you are in studio. And for those of you who have studio and you have, like the old school content library subscription at the Pro or Enterprise tiers, you can see this maybe right now or definitely at the end of the webinar.
I was going to say, at the end of the webinar, we'll send links to everyone. There'll be some QR codes. But let's just...
It is as simple as clicking here up in the nav, media sites. This is something new that we have right here. And so when you get to sites, if there's no padlock or anything like that, you'll know if you can't get to it and just talk to your customer success person and they'll get you all sorted. But basically right here, it's as simple as add a site. If I want to name it, I could say webinar launch and it's not even case sensitive. It doesn't matter. Webinar launch. The description here, it's totally optional. Might show up in OTT apps and stuff like that. It doesn't show up on the media site at all. It's just whatever. Underneath, I did want to mention.
You skipped over something that was very important.
I skipped over something that was huge. Okay.
We need to touch on this.
Yes, this guy right here, site URL. Snap these things up as quickly as you can, especially if your church is First Baptist Church or something like that, because these things, once you reserve it, it's yours.
And you can't change it.
And you can't change it.
Edit this. Yeah.
You can't edit it. Now you can delete a site and then just redo one. That you can totally do that if someone else hasn't taken your URL in the meantime. So just know that this is the URL that you will be going to, and embedding and doing all the things that we'll talk about. But
moving forward, once you add your site.
Once you add your site, all of these other things are editable. This part is not, because we want to reserve it and we don't want collisions with other people that are wanting the same name as you. Basically, that's what it is. Site description, optional. Google Analytics. So this is the new Google Analytics 4 tag. For those of you who know what I just said, know what I'm talking about. And those of you who, and the reason why we put this in there, was because you probably, if you know what I'm talking about, already have a Google Analytics dashboard where you're collating all of these from all these different endpoints into one dashboard. And we want Resi on-demand media sites to form part of that picture so that you can know what kind of traffic patterns are actually occurring. And you can throw that Google Analytics measurement tag, ID tag right there. And then what do you know? It's in your dashboard. So we thought of that for you. That's, I think, really, really cool. And then the site theme. Do you want a light background or a dark background? Dark is always better, unless you're embedding it into your homepage, in which case, if you've got a white background, like a lot of them do, the vast majority, then you might want light. But if you're just using it standalone, it's going to look like Netflix. Yeah,
and that's something we should touch on. There are two ways you can show your Resi Media site. Embed it into your web page,
right,
or standalone.
Yeah.
And so the URL that you choose that you cannot change.
Yeah.
If you click, have I mentioned that enough? If you click on that, it will open up its own standalone player, and it will look amazing with a hero image and everything.
Yes, we're going to show you in a little bit. Yes.
Right. So for that, I recommend dark. I think we all recommend dark.
Right.
Right. It's the Netflix.
Yeah.
But embedding, depending on what your site looks like, white or dark mode is.
Either way will work. Either way will work. The part here that adds the content to the page is done through playlists. And if you're familiar with any kind of playlist inside of Library, this should look familiar to you. I'm just going to add like this one, and then this one, and then this one. And what's wonderful about these on-demand media sites is that it's taking advantage of the media that you already have. So you're not having to recreate something, re-upload something, fix something. And it is as simple as what I just showed you, add, and there's your site. That's it. Yep. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Right here, new window. All right, there it is. It's that fast. That's what happens. Now, if you're thinking just a little bit, you're thinking to yourself probably, oh, wait, this is a playlist? Can't you autosave to playlist? Yes, you can. So think about this for a little bit. Think about what if, and this is the automation thing that I love, because a lot of us are in the weekly grind, not only before Sunday, but after Sunday too. You could, if you get your playlist all ordered up, you could have an empty playlist in your media site that will not render until content fills it. So you could have an empty playlist with the name of not this series that your pastor is preaching, but the next one and the next one that are currently empty, but you've got them all ready to go. And then you go on vacation to Cabo, Because when it happens, because you've already had it scheduled out, you already know what the titles are, you already know what the descriptions are, everything's all ready to go, and it's going to drop into the right playlist when that happens. And when the web video concludes, the live stream concludes, it automatically saves not only into your library, but into the playlist. And what do you know? It's in the media site, and it's there. Mm-hmm.
So just recapping, so I understand and make sure we have understanding of how automagically, which is your word. I'm going to give you that one. It works.
Yeah.
So the next pastor sermon series, or this next 5.
Yeah, because usually we kind of know what the next series is going to be.
Sure.
We know what the sermon title is going to be, and things like that.
So you create this empty playlist. Mm-hmm. You schedule your stream for 2 months out as you're building out your monthly schedule or quarterly schedule, whatever your cadence is. You can choose. Oh, well, this is the start of this next sermon series. We want to add it to this playlist, which is currently empty. Mm-hmm. And then once that stream starts, according to the schedule, like it always does, as soon as that service is concluded and the stream ends, automatically, it goes into that playlist and populates on the live site. Is that?
Yes, and it populates on the mobile app, and it populates on OTTs. Yes. And you didn't do anything. You did it 2 months ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say you did it 2 months ago.
You did
right?
it 2 months ago. That's what's great about it, because this was the problem that I was constantly facing, was because of Resi stability, it was like taking seed and root in other places of the world, and I would need to go on trips to go help these church planting movements get started that were using a lot of our content that Resi had empowered. The problem was I couldn't take 2 weeks off to go to India or South Africa or Thailand to be there on site to help them, because I had to be back on Monday morning and uploading and trimming and doing all the things. So I'm so glad that this type of tool has been architected with those things in mind, because the idea is to free up your time so that you can dedicate it not on technology but on the people side of ministry, and that's what it allowed me to do.
Yeah. So what else is going on in Resi on Demand? Can we see like under the hood of what that looks like?
What do you want to see?
So let's go into Studio,
Okay.
and let's see. You made your site. How editable is your site once you make it?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So once we go in here, view details, right? I can hit this edit button. We'll get to the share button in a little bit, but I can hit this edit button, and while I can't change the URL because we've talked about,
the box is grayed out.
everything else is editable, including, like, for example, if I wanted to say, oh, I want this particular sermon series or this playlist to be at the top, right? And watch this, okay? This is what it looked like.
Okay,
right?
I was gonna say, did you save it?
Just give me a second. I'm gonna save it, right? Now I'm gonna flip over here.
It's there.
It's already, I didn't even refresh. I don't know if you noticed that. I didn't even refresh. I just changed it and instantly, boom, there it is.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to know is the thumbnail of the first video of the first playlist that's at the top, that becomes the hero banner up here, right?
Yes.
So
for the standalone.
Yeah, for the standalone page. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that, because here, and this is something that a lot of people have missed, maybe we need to make it more prominent, is this share button, which should look familiar for those of you who mess around with Studio at all, you coming from web channels and stuff. This share button right here includes an iframe code that, if you look at the source URL, has a little bit of a query parameter on the back end, embed equals true. I'm just going to copy that and show you the standalone version of that. Wait, I'm going to stick this in an incognito window just in case, so that there's no caching, no nothing, so you can see exactly how fast it loads. So I just say embed equals true, and what you notice here on this particular embedded iframeable responsive, like things shrink, it looks good on mobile, all the things, right? What happens on this one, when embed equals true, there's no header, there's no Resi branding, there's no footer, it's just your content. So the idea behind this is you could take this basic code and embed it inside the web page that you already have, and therefore have all of the context that you also want. Because that's one of the problems with sending it out, because it's not like video on demand's a new thing, right? I mean, YouTube's been around for a while, right? So has Vimeo. I mean, that's not the part where I feel the most excited about. I feel excited about the workflows, and I feel excited about being able to put that content right where all the calls to action, like, pray for me, like giving, like sign up for the small group, like volunteer here. All of those calls to action, which are not in any of those other platforms, not to mention the fact that there's all these ads all over the place.
Oh, right, yeah,
and so it's like, okay, this is your content with your calls to action, and with the embedded code, you can have all of your branding all around it. Mm-hmm. And so it's really the best of both. If you want to have more than one site, because this is another thing too, here I can have up to 3 sites.
3 sites, okay.
And so there's all kinds of things that you could do, like volunteer training. You could do a kids site. You could do like a mission trip, training site. You could do one that just showcases all of the certain pastor that you have that is really popular. If he just wants all of his sermons in there, you could throw all of that in there, and then he could embed it on one of his pages that he does, or whatever.
Can you imagine how happy the parents are going to be that they have a dedicated, Sunday school youth
Right,
group
yes, no distractions.
site. Right. And they say, oh, here you go. And it's on mobile app too.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yes.
Because we know how that goes. It's your child, have the phone. They can watch all your church's children content.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's such a huge win. So one thing on the sharing,
Yes.
I am not a coder. I'm not a web developer. I'm in video production.
Right.
You took part of that embed URL.
Oh, right.
I'm assuming, since it's there, you can just take the straight URL, no editing, you don't have to read code to understand, and just embed that into your website, and it...
Okay, it depends.
Okay.
And this is the hard part that we really had a hard time trying to engineer around, because there are about as many different types of web hosting services as there are denominations. And so it's rough to try to say, okay, will this work in Squarespace? Will this work also using the same code? Will this work in Squarespace and Wix and Webflow and ChurchCo and and WordPress?
Yep.
All the things. It's like, okay, let's just make this as simple as we can make it.
Sure.
Especially to start. So like, if you look here, it's not complicated on purpose. We're trying to keep things very, very simple and not to overburden you from getting what you want, right? And so that's why the embed code here, you can throw the site, I would try both. You can try the URL here. If that doesn't work, what's probably going to work is this embed code.
Sure.
And if you need to play around with it at all, this is something that, some of our beta testers have found, that sometimes they wanted it to be a little taller, a little fatter, whatever. There's like a width and height thing that you can you can almost read it and see how to edit it.
It's a line and a half, yeah, it's easy.
Right. It's really not
We're not a code person, yeah.
Right. It's like if you could change some of those things and then just see how it works. But for the most part, the magic is around the question mark embed equals true. There's a lot of things that happen with our feed engine where we are intentionally turning things on and off, and dark mode, light mode, all of those things on the back end. That is just magic. I'm so proud of our engineers and what they put together.
So we like to put this in practice here.
Yeah.
So on the site, if you can swipe over to the site, you notice webinar playlist. There's a thumbnail there. That wasn't there before. We actually sent this production right here through our Ray encoder, and we set it to end early for demonstration purposes.
Yeah.
Automatically fed into, because we set up the empty playlist ahead of time.
Right. Yep.
Automatically fed in to that video while we were talking here.
Right.
And while we have
the point.
We have a great production crew.
Yeah, it's there in the schedule.
They didn't do anything. They just let the event end, and it's there.
Yeah.
Come on. So I do want to move on to our next segment, but I do want to let everyone know this is being recorded and will be available. Let's just say this event about Resi on Demand will be on demand. This will be available for everyone, so you can go back and rewatch this. And if some of your team members missed it today, totally okay. It's available to watch.
Yep.
So we've seen a little bit of under the hood, the engine of Resi on Demand. What we've done is partnered with some beta testers, some of our customers, and we did not want to just talk about how great Resi on Demand is. Of course, we think it's great. We designed it that way. We want to show all of you experiences from one of our Resi customers, Rick Day from Deer Flat Church. He's had access to Resi media sites for about a month now.
Yeah, a little over a month.
You've been working with him a So we wanted to get his take on Resi On Demand and Resi Media Sites. So let's bring him on now. Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
So, Rick, first off, thanks so much for being a beta tester. Love that we get to partner together with you, because I feel like what Resi does is we help the people that help the people. And just being able to lock arms with other folks who are getting the message out of hope and redemption, that it's just, I feel honored to be a part of it. And I love my beta testers. I mean, we've worked together a lot of back and forth, lots of emails. This didn't work, this worked. Let's tweak this, let's do this a little bit better. And so if you could rewind a little bit, when we first started our beta testing journey for Resi On Demand together, what were your first thoughts when you first saw Resi On Demand and it sparked a little bit of imagination for you as to how you could use it? Just tell me, how did you feel about it?
Well, I within seconds on our first call together, I was very excited. And you guys basically put me on there and said, play around and see what you think without any instruction. And I was able to mostly get through there pretty quickly. Yep. and figure things out. It was very intuitive and nice interface. It was easy to follow, and my mind immediately went to all the things it was going to do for me as I began to play with that.
So how are you using it right now? Because you've rolled it out, right?
Correct. Yes. Okay. We worked through a few bugs the first couple of weeks we had it, and it is embedded in our website. Okay. And we implemented that probably end of August, first part of September. And we have been using it since then. And we also have it directly linked to our app, so people can get to it directly from there. And we have had very good response. In fact, our stats from August to September, as far as unique views, first-time views, etc., were over 90% increase in that time frame.
Whoa! So almost double. Wow.
Yeah. 90%.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
That is great. Yeah. So wait, is that just 90% clicks, or is it other 90% watch time engagement? What?
Watch time increased actually over 90%.
Wow.
Unique viewers was 90+%, and first time was right at 90%.
Wow, that is crazy. So it wasn't just novelty, people just clicking around. They were actually, it's double your engagement.
Absolutely.
Wow.
One of the two biggest complaints we had about our previous, the way we had it on the website previously, was it was not shareable and it was very hard to go through the playlist.
Okay.
And this did away with both of those problems.
Wow, that is crazy. Oh man, that is so good to hear. So I'm just thinking about that. That's so cool. Aside from that though, for you personally, because there is this side in which we had always hoped that it would create more engagement for our churches, which it sounds like that's exactly what we're doing. So score there. But we also wanted it to save you time. So tell me about how this has changed your workflows and if it's saved you any time, from going, when something ends to actually having it be there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And in all honesty, the first step was becoming part of Resi to start with, because prior to Resi, I was using 4 platforms to get to the end result.
4 platforms.
And just as you were talking about earlier, it was hours, and it didn't show up till Monday or Tuesday on a good week, and it was sometimes very lengthy, just the rendering alone.
Right.
So huge pieces of being able to not only have it accessible immediately, but even making quick edits with setting cues and so forth is so simple, literally seconds. I can go from, if I'm editing it at all, I can go from the original to the queued up piece and in the playlist and on the website within 5 minutes.
Wow. So how long did it take you before then? You said all day, or what? How many hours?
4 different parts in there. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you include rendering and everything, you could potentially have 3 or 4 hours. in just, and that's if you're not really doing any editing to speak of.
Right.
And waiting for it to upload and yeah, the download, the upload, the rendering. Yeah,
I get it, man.
absolutely.
So we just gave you like 3 or 4 hours a week.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And how quickly, because you said, you gave us a little bit of a time there. How quickly have your people, and maybe that's part of the reason why you're getting so much more engagement, is because it's available sooner? I'm assuming on the webpage it's available sooner than Monday or Tuesday.
Yes, it is. And I do believe that's definitely a part of it, because you have that anxiousness. You come out of a good service and you want to share it with somebody, or you want to go back and view a particular portion.
Right.
It's easy to do now. It's not painful.
Yes.
Well, yeah. You feel moved by the Spirit in the actual service, and I need to share this. Yeah. A couple days later, or 4 hours later, you're not striking while the iron's hot.
Right.
You're not being able to share when it's like, I need to share this with my friend.
Yeah. What's so crazy though is, in my mind, I'm thinking, I would have never thought that ease of use, just removing that friction, could create twice the engagement. That's the thing for me. That's like really. It's surprising.
You didn't know it was possible until
right. I thought that it would be like, oh, okay, so I'm helping this one person that came to me in the lobby, but I'm not like putting these things together, that just because it's just one person coming to you or your boss.
Right. You're not looking at it from the macro of like, wow, this is impacting a lot of people.
Exactly.
You're thinking about that one person in the lobby, your boss.
Yeah.
What's the live stream going to be of?
Yeah, and then when they can share it with their friends, you just like doubled your church in a way. It's like that's kind of what happened. Dude, that is so cool. I'm so glad that we spent the time to like make that happen, and because I can only imagine that, like your church, other churches who are going to be able to streamline their workflows, make their lives easier so they can spend more time with their volunteers, but not only that, empower their congregation to do micro-evangelism in the moment. The multiplicative effect of that, double, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
In 1 month time, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. You don't typically get those results right away. There's a slow, gradual fit. Not in this case. Boom!
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Rick, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on with us live and share your insights, your experiences with.
And thanks for being a beta tester too. So appreciate the back and forth. I feel like the work that we've been able to do together, along with the other beta testers that we've had in the group, have really helped as we partner together to make something that is really going to reach a lot more people for Jesus.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.
All right. Wow. So we, not surprisingly, we are having some questions blow up.
Oh, nice. Yes. Give me questions.
I can tell you're a little excited, Jason. I like it.
Because in my mind, this kind of interaction, this is kind of like the same thing that I do in the feedback form that's inside of Resi Studio, or, just interacting with the beta tester, because we're partners. We do this together.
Yes.
It's not like,
we're just making a solution and then,
right,
going out to lunch, have fun with it.
No. It's our goal to really help the people who help the people. And if we're not doing that, then what are we doing? We might as well just, forget it.
So there are a lot of questions. I like it.
Nice.
So we have a question. Can you tell me why Resi Media Sites is better than Vimeo OTT?
Okay. Yeah. There's a couple of things just to be aware of. Vimeo has many more features than Resi does. And I'm just being completely transparent. Has more features. The features that they have, a lot of them apply, some of them apply to churches, not all of them. What we try to do is keep things simple enough to employ the features that matter to churches most. So there's not a lot of monetization things going on, because a lot of churches don't want to put the gospel behind a paywall. So, all of that is true. Another thing from a pricing model, Vimeo can seem cheaper on the front end. And if all you're doing is like, just one video a month, then fine, do that. Sure. What looms in the future, though, especially if you're doing 4K or high quality stuff, is what I call the 7 terabyte wall, where, and this is like buried in the EULA and all that kind of stuff. If you hit that wall, you can't upload anymore, and you're kind of stuck unless you're paying big money. Like we've had big churches. Now, if you're small, just getting started, fine. Do what you got to do.
You're not going to hit that wall.
No, you're not going to hit that wall today. If you choose to, and this is something that with our church, it took us probably about 3 or 4 years to hit the wall. But that was before we started doing 4K content. Once we started doing 4K content...
Oh, you hit that wall much quicker.
Yeah, exactly. And so what happens then is it becomes way more expensive to do that than to do Resi. Like an order of magnitude cheaper Resi on higher types of workflows. Vimeo doesn't give you the workflow that we just talked about, save to playlist.
Oh, right.
You can't pre-populate a playlist or a showcase or anything like that ahead of time.
You're manually uploading.
Again, you're manually doing all of these things. That's another thing. She or he, I don't know who it was, but anyway, OTT.
Yeah, OTT.
Another thing.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, Vimeo is closing their OTT thing. And if I think they've given like I forget which part of the OTT thing that they're stopping.
So Vimeo is changing a little bit.
Yeah, they're changing a little bit. They can do what they want to do. It's fine.
Right.
But what they do for Roku is Roku only. So one of the things that we've partnered with an OTT company to work directly with Resi and the library that works with Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Roku, and you can, again, it's one place where you update in one place. The feed engine empowers all of those things on all of the apps everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I feel like in many ways, Vimeo is a great product. And like I said, there are certain features that we don't do right now. If there are features that you absolutely need, that Vimeo does, that we don't, let me know. Put it in the, feedback studio place, because I read those things, and who knows, you might be the next beta tester on the next thing that we do.
That's right.
Because now we have a feed engine, we can start to do more things like this that we couldn't do before.
Right,
That's why
it was individual, yeah. So I have another question here. Can my team create thumbnail graphics, or does Resi do that for me?
Okay. The question's a little confusing, but I think I understand what the person's trying to say.
Does Resi auto-generate a thumbnail, or do they have to manually create a thumbnail and upload it?
Okay, today...
I believe that's the question.
If that's the question, then today Resi does not auto-generate thumbnails. Mm-hmm. What it does auto-generate is a default thumbnail if you don't add one.
Sure.
And it's that black and white, little...
Because you need a thumbnail.
You need something. Yes. Otherwise, Roku and OTT doesn't work. And so there's certain requirements that we had to meet, and that's why we have the default thumbnail. I would recommend you put your own in there and do a little bit of work like YouTube thumbnail style to make it more eye-catching, which will always work better than even an auto-generated one if we got to the place where we did that. I would love for us to be able to do that, by the way. And if you want that to happen, leave some feedback in studio, and that gives me more ammunition to make that.
And I was going to say, the more you let us know, the better it will happen.
Yes, feedback early, feedback often.
Right.
Yes.
So with the URLs with media sites,
yes.
What happens if your media site URL is taken? What are some options you can do if you're not the first person to secure that name?
Well, you just can get creative, I guess, and.
Yeah, I was going to say get creative, but then you can
how you name it.
Well, you can also create a forwarding URL.
Oh yeah, you could.
You
could.
Yeah,
that's true.
So create a URL, through your domain registrar, and
right.
and then just forward it to the Resi site, the Resi Media site, with the, say your church name, 1234 or whatever it is. That way you can have a close name. That's just the way the game is played. Unfortunately, with domains, is it's first come first serve.
And just FYI, one of the things we've thought about in phase 2 is the ability to do custom domains or custom subdomains, things of that nature. We're kind of waiting on feedback before we, over-engineer something. I hope you see that this is designed to be very simple so that we don't throw Saul's armor on people. Because for a lot of people, they're not web developers. They just want something that kind of works. And I feel like we've hit this sweet spot today, but if there's something that we've missed that you absolutely have to have, then let us know, because we've probably already thought of it, but we're waiting on people to tell us that it's important so that we can sequence it.
So I think that's a great segue into my next question. If a church has 10 campuses, can they have 10 media sites?
Ooh, okay. So here's something to think about. All right, so today the cap is 3. Not because, there's no real technical limitation for us to cap it at 3. You can have unlimited playlists inside of your media site.
Okay.
And we have, the only limitation on that one is your own laziness. So you can just keep on adding them, but you got to maintain them. So if you wanted
playlists.
One for 10 for each of the campuses. That might be a better approach than having 10 separate sites. You can also, with that little query parameter, stick it on the end of a playlist that's part of a site. Embed that in your web page. So that's another creative way of taking advantage.
Just the playlist on the site.
You can.
Okay.
You can. And so that way you're not using up a URL from someone else. And so that's one of the balancing acts we're trying to figure out from people who are just like, I'm just gonna register everything. And then somebody else can't use it then. So
and here's the thing too: if you have 10 campuses, you are still one church. You still have one church name.
Yeah.
So having that cohesive brand as one site with all 10 campuses or however many campuses you have, I would think from a congregation standpoint, why would they want to type in 10 different URLs? Not that every person's going to want 10 different sites.
That's true too.
10 different services, but one church, one site, one brand, and you can segment it through the playlist. And that's where I would go with that.
It's interesting that you say that because when we did our initial testing with our beta test group, once they saw what they could do inside even just one media site, at first they said, I want 15. But then when they started actually using it, they were like, I just throw a playlist in there. It's just easier to manage. And I just only need one, maybe one more. And so it was because of the user feedback that we capped it at 3 so that everyone can use it. Now, that said, if you have a real use case, again, I'm going back to this feedback thing. We listen. Yeah. We build stuff just for you. So just let us know. And there are ways in which we can unlock stuff. And so, like I said, there's no technical limitation, but we don't want people going bonkers and then making it hard for others. So, yeah.
So we have more questions, but I'm gonna
okay.
pause right now.
All right.
Because at this point we're about 15 minutes. We have 15 minutes left of the live event. So here's where I want to, open it up to all of you. So we have a handful of different people in this webinar, people who are on the pro and enterprise level of what was known as Content Library, now Resi On Demand. So for everyone who already is on pro and enterprise of Resi On Demand, you have access to Resi media sites. Right now.
Yeah.
And
you're welcome.
Yeah. and so we're throwing up a QR code. It'll take you to your studio account. Go set up your site and get your URL now.
Yes, Cyber Squat.
Because it is first come, first serve, as we've maybe mentioned once or twice already.
Right, yeah.
So go right now, secure your church's URL, your Resi Media site URL name. Go do that now.
Yeah.
For the starter plan of what was known as Content Library, now Resi On Demand, if you are on starter right now and you want to try Resi Media sites, we are offering a free 30-day trial, and we offered it before. If you took that, that's wiped. You can do another.
Yeah, because we blocked it. You could only use it once before.
Which, of course.
And now that we have all this new functionality, we want you to play around with new possibilities and new opportunities. So when we talked about it, it's like, what about all those people? Are we going to block them because they tried it before a year ago?
Absolutely not. No,
we're just going to, we're wiping the slate clean, resetting everybody.
So, right. So if you are on the starter plan and you want to try Resi Media sites, which of course we encourage, get your 30-day free trial. We're going to throw a QR code up on screen. It will.
Now your trial will be on the pro level though.
Yes.
So you just be aware of that.
So yes, at the 30-day mark or approaching the 30-day mark, make sure you talk to your customer service or customer success manager, representative, because
if you want to take it back down or whatever,
or have questions of like, hey, what can I do with this? They are going to help you out. They're going to be your rock star. And then for anyone who is not in the Resi On Demand world, the content library world, if you want to learn more and get on Resi On Demand, here's a QR code for you to learn more and book a demo. Check it out. We'd love to get your feedback as well, get your input, and get you on Resi On Demand.
Awesome.
So let's continue with the questions, because there are questions.
Okay.
So here's a question. Just to be clear, this is for your own church's content only. There isn't an availability to put other licensed video on this site. Is that?
That's a great question.
That's a bit of a more legal copyright question.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, I can tell you from a technical limitation, there isn't any technical limitation from Resi.
Sure.
Now,
We will not flag
flag
content like YouTube would or potentially Vimeo or any other. We won't flag it. However,
it is interesting that you say that though, because depending upon the way that your license agreement is for being able to stream licensed content, sometimes it's restricted to a certain domain, in which case it would probably be your church's domain and not resi.io, sites.resi.io, where that would be actually living on the standalone page.
Interesting.
So there's a subtle nuance there from a legal perspective. We're not going to stop you.
Right.
But if somebody comes after you, I mean, just be aware of that. You could probably get, I don't know.
We encourage you to be above
We encourage
board.
you to be wise.
And yes. But in terms of the technical limitations, no, we will not flag. We will, reduce as much friction as possible.
Exactly.
In that area.
Exactly. That's a good question, though.
Oh, absolutely. Another question, will this require a content library subscription? Is this included in a current Resi subscription? Yes. So content library, you will need a content library subscription, which is now known as Resi On Demand. We're phasing out content library because that was just one piece. I know.
It was just the VOD piece. It wasn't the engine. It wasn't the media site. It wasn't any of those other things. This is so much bigger.
Right. So now I believe the pricing between content library and Resi On Demand, that's the same. That's not changing.
Yeah, everything's the same.
Right. It's just the features of Resi Media sites is on the pro and enterprise level, not the starter, which is why we have the 30-day trial and all that.
So with starter, you still get the library, you still get playlists, but you won't get media sites or the engine.
If you only have a Resi streaming subscription, and you've never had content library, you don't have Resi Media site, that is not included, or Resi On Demand, I'm sorry. that Resi Media Sites is not included, but you can try the
do the trial.
30-day trial.
Poke around.
Right.
Break it. And then tell me.
Break it and then reach out to Jason Morris.
Yes, please.
All right. Does Media Sites sync with other platforms such as YouTube?
Okay, that's interesting. The live streaming already does.
Correct. The sites is just the place for the content to live after the stream.
Right.
And so yeah, when you stream something to YouTube or Facebook, that saves into YouTube and Facebook as a streamed
with
video.
all the ads and all the other stuff there too.
The ads, the compression, the flagging, the copyright, all that.
Yeah.
Which,
and one thing is also, let's just be really transparent. We're not going to compete with YouTube and its discoverability.
No.
But
we're not meant to do that.
No, yeah. But when you go to a Resi on-demand media site or your church's homepage with the media site embedded, what's great about that is that in that walled garden, your fruit is easier to find. So from a strategic standpoint, I would do both. I would live stream to YouTube, let it do what it's going to do. And then I would autosave to the media site and have it on my webpage in the place where I want it, where all the other calls to action are already there that don't exist in these other platforms. So they can discover me on YouTube.
Sure.
If they're just looking around for whatever kind of topic, and hopefully you've got your keywords dialed in.
Yeah, right.
If they want to discover me on YouTube, that's fine. But if they want to go deeper, then they go to my homepage, because that's where all the real community is. It's not just about content consumption. It's about being a part of a church.
Well, right. And if you are talking to your congregants and they say, where can I see the service? Point them to your site, your media site. Don't point them to YouTube, because the experience is going to be night and day better with the media site than on YouTube.
Way fewer distractions if they find it at all.
Yeah, has the YouTube rabbit hole, is that a term anyone's familiar with? Yeah, right. Go down the church rabbit hole, go down your Resi Media site rabbit hole.
Right, yes. Well, apparently that's happening twice as much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
When Rick said that, I was blown away when Rick said that. All right, here's a good question. We stream multiple services. Can we set this up to only send one to the on-demand platform, Resi On Demand?
Yes.
And Resi Media Sites, I'm presuming.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Now, there is a couple of caveats in there that I just want to be, because the devil's in the details on some of that stuff. Sometimes, and my church included, sometimes I would stream the entire morning. That would encompass 3 services for the entire morning. Just because, mainly because we couldn't keep our time straight, and I never knew when it was going to really end. And so I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to stream the whole morning. You guys figure it out when you're going to start and end, because they never were consistent. And so that made it more difficult for me. And so it's like, I'm just not going to deal with it. And then I would go back later and take the best one and use that. So if that's the way that you're doing it, whatever your web video is, those of you who are familiar with Studio, whatever your web video is that you're creating with your schedule, that web video, when it's auto-saved or auto-saved to playlist, the entirety of that web video will go into your media site. If it's 3 services, it's going to be way too big.
Sure.
That's probably not the recommended way to do it. However, if you had 3 separate web videos or in your schedule for your 3 different services, you could cherry pick one of those web videos to autosave. In most cases, like for us, the second service was the best.
Yeah.
Because the first one was like the run through. It shouldn't be that way, but that's how it was.
Sure.
And the second one was better, and the third one was overcooked. And so what we did was, in general, we would archive the second one unless something weird happened.
Well, and so if you set it to automatically archive the second one in this example, if you automatically set it to archive in the second one, and then the second service rolls around and it wasn't so good.
It wasn't so good.
And the third one was better. You can just edit it later.
Yes, you can manually update all of those things later.
Right.
And so from a manual perspective, it's actually not that hard to do.
It's a couple
but
clicks.
you can, it's a couple clicks, but you can automate it so that you don't have to touch it at all.
Sure.
And that's one of the beauties of the whole workflow that we've architected.
So here's a question. Is it possible to automate the upload to another media library such as Vimeo? So I think understanding this question.
Okay, a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so depends. Here is a particular workflow that maybe you haven't considered. We have an RTMP feature that is, not even a year old. It's like months old, where you can RTMP out to lots of other services, right? Including Vimeo. So if you wanted to, then you have to pay extra for the RTMP out.
Right, because it's
and you also have to pay for Vimeo to receive it on their end.
Yes.
Could you create an automation that way? Yes. Would that drop into the proper playlist? It would require a lot more manual work on your part. Could it be done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because Vimeo just creates one library from things that are streaming, right?
You just have to go back in there afterwards
and rearrange it.
And assign it to a particular group or a channel or whatever they're calling it today, because there's like 3 different ones.
Yeah, right.
So and each of them do different things. So it's like it's okay, whatever. You can. I would recommend you do RTMP to Vimeo if that's what you want to do. And there's a lot of folks that are doing it that way. Just stay away from the 7 terabyte wall.
Yeah, right. So let's see. What will happen to content library for non-sites users?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You don't have to use it if you don't want it.
Right.
Nothing's going to change. Your price isn't going to go up. It's all going to be.
If you have starter, or say you have pro, you just don't want to use it.
If you don't want to use it, that's fine.
Yeah. You still use your playlists. Still autosave everything. Nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing changes.
Yeah. Let's see. And we got a couple more minutes, so we'll wrap up. Last question. What can teams do to prep to start using Resi On Demand and Resi Media Sites? What can they prep before they dive into the whole thing?
Oh, well, we have documentation that just hit this morning on how to use it. And my hope is that you don't need it.
It didn't seem like Rick did.
No, and most of our beta testers, I did it to them on purpose. I would just open it up and say, hey, create a media site. And literally in less than 5 minutes, they had one. Because there's not a lot of complexity there. And that's by design. We're trying to keep things really simple right now. And as we get feedback from users, then we'll add more features. But we don't want to over-engineer something, and then all of a sudden, you've got something complicated again. You've got a 747 cockpit in front of your face, and you don't know what to do, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. But we do have documentation, just in case. And support is amazing. Resi is known for our support, and those guys are rock stars. And I've done a lot of training with them, and they're more than aware of how everything works in and out, as well as customer success.
Well, and I was going to say, so as we wrap up, again, if you haven't already, definitely encourage you to go into your studio account. If you're already pro and enterprise, get your URL if you haven't already. If you want to check out Resi Media Sites, start that 30-day trial. It is available for everyone. Just check it out. And again, like you said, talk to your customer success managers.
Right.
They are here to help guide you through this process, answer your questions, help you utilize Resi, all of Resi, not just media sites, not just on demand, all of Resi, to the best of your ability, to the best that suits your church.
And if there's a missing feature, tell your customer success manager. But if you want, you could also just throw it in the feedback form. So either way, I'll hear about it. and I want to hear about it because I've got a whole menu of things where I think it should go, but I'm not going to pull the trigger on any of it until I hear feedback from you.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We're really passionate. We're really excited about this. We're so glad that you all tuned in. Jason, sir, thank you so much.
Oh,
Appreciate
yes,
you.
absolutely.
Gosh, wealth of knowledge coming in hot here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, everyone, go check out Resi On Demand, Resi Media Sites, available within Studio, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for joining us.
Take care, everybody.